to go live with this much information. This much, we're talking all about content that closes. And by that, we're going to dig into what that means, what kind of content actually closes the deal, sets the appointment. That's obviously the goal for building content in the first place. So that's what we're going to jump into today. We're also going to talk specifically about why a lot of content fails to generate leads. And that's what we're after here, obviously, right? How to create content that moves customers towards booking, so giving them a path to get there. How one piece of content can power your SEO, your social media, your email, and AI search. So that's going to be a big one. And then a simple system we'll go through to show you how to turn content into a steady pipeline of appointments. Now, as I mentioned, my name is Will Hankey. My business is called Window Treatment Marketing Pros. We are an award-winning agency. I've got 29 years this month of marketing experience, so excited to celebrate that. I've spoke at a lot of the different industry events. I've written 3 books now, specifically on window treatment marketing, and very excited to have you on today. So obviously we've got some awards there and other stuff as well. So near the end today, I want to give you some stuff. I want to give you a copy of my book and some other really cool things that is going to help you move forward and not just stay where you're at, but actually start to move the needle for your business. So stick around for that, and I'll make sure to mention those near the end. I also like to make this interactive. So if you have questions along the way, whatever you're watching the workshop on today, YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, lots of different platforms that we're on. If you have a question, just jump over to the chat piece, the chat area on that particular platform, and pop your question in there, and we'll make sure to grab that question and answer that for you. So I will see those across the different platforms. So I know that a lot of businesses are posting content, right? You hear it over and over. You need to be on social media, or you need to be doing this, or you need to be creating content, but they're not really seeing more phone calls from that, obviously more consultations, and ultimately not getting more sales. But the big question is, why does that happen? Now, one of the big things when it comes to this is that you're just doing random marketing activity. Maybe you're writing a blog post every once in a while, or maybe you take a before and after picture of one of your jobs when you remember. Maybe you're like, gosh, things are slow. I think we need to do a 10% off, something like that, but it's not consistent. What you really need is a strategy that connects everything over to sales and starts that piece of it. And that's really what we're going to focus on today. The real problem here is content without the customer journey is a wasted effort. Your content should guide you or guide the customer, not just exist. And you definitely want to make sure that you're using simple language, avoiding any jargon. For instance, in our world, a lot of us call them window coverings, but to the average consumer, they call them window treatments. So understanding that difference when you're talking to your persona is very, very important. But you definitely have to have some sort of a buyer journey in place, or you're going to suffer with not many conversions. Now, a lot of the content that is created doesn't answer buyer questions. Maybe it's not created for search intent in the first place, or it doesn't give the customer an obvious next step. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of that today. Now, as you probably know, marketing has changed over the years. It's consistently changing all the time. Now we've got AI, this new thing that has to be integrated into all of this. It's very important here that all these different pieces are in place. Your customer doesn't just live on one platform. So that needs to be made sure that you understand that just because maybe you use Facebook all the time, that doesn't mean all your customers do the same thing. You have to have multi-channel behavior here. And you can't just have fragmented discovery. So you have to be able to be everywhere on all the different platforms, and it's not as difficult as it sounds, quite honestly. Um, but your content really needs to work across multiple channels all at the same time. So you've got Google, social, YouTube, or videos. Uh, the whole AI thing I mentioned earlier, the AI powered answers are now a big piece of everything we're doing. And we can't forget about reviews. Reviews is a huge piece of the customer journey, both for the customer going through that and leaving the review at the end, but those also fuel new people coming into the top of your funnel as well. Now, search engines are getting a lot better at identifying content that actually helps people. So you have to create content that is helpful, expert driven. There was actually a helpful content update from Google a while back. That's typically, or that is what they called it, was the helpful content update. So creating content that answers people's questions, helps them with their research, demonstrates your experience, and at the end of the day provides value, or they feel like at the end of that session they have learned something from that. That's huge. Um, Google's obviously prioritizing this helpful content. The AI summaries are helping answer those questions where people are not visiting your website. But businesses that educate customers are going to win the visibility game here. That's a very important piece of it. And the companies that answer questions, customer questions online, are going to be those customers that show up in that search area. So, what is the opportunity here? We want to make sure that you understand it's optimistic. Like there are a lot of good things we can do here. A lot of things that, if you do it right, this is good news. So, we want to talk specifically about structured content being your competitive advantage. And businesses that structure their content correctly, first of all, get discovered earlier. So you get more at bats. You build trust faster, which is awesome. People that like, know, and trust you are more likely to do business with you. And then, of course, you also convert more website visitors into typically appointments. Um, this is where the content that closes comes in. So let's talk a little bit about the content that closes framework. You don't necessarily need more content, you really need better structure. Position is very important in the overall for Google, but that comes down to structuring your content in the right way. And this really is the core of everything that we do as a marketing agency. So instead of random posts, we need to build a content engine that guides customers towards booking the appointment here. So let's jump into these. How customers buy window treatments. This is really important. So the first thing that happens obviously is inspiration. They're gonna they're gonna at some point be inspired to start working on this project for their home or for their business. The next thing they'll do is research, and we're going to dive into each of these a little bit more. But the second thing they do is they start to research. And it's important to know here that somebody that's on the web in research mode is different than somebody that is in purchase mode. So, two different kinds of searchers that could be coming to your website at the same time. So, step two, they're going to do some research around things. They're going to start comparing what they find and making decisions from that. Because in this example, you've got city blinds and shades with 294 reviews versus Bay Area shutters with no reviews, right? So, those kinds of things is what goes into their mind and compare. And then from that, they make a decision. Who should I go look at? What websites should I even check out? Should I fill out the form? Those kinds of things. And finally, they make a decision and set up a free consultation. Now, your content needs to support each of these stages. And that's where it starts to get a little bit more involved, right? So let's talk about awareness. So when somebody first decides they're inspired to start doing something, they need to be aware that your business exists, right? So they start to think on things around what should I search for? What kind of word should I type in? We call that search intent, right? What is the intent of what they're getting ready to put into typically Google? These are the questions people Google before they even know who you are. So they'll start to type things in. This is where SEO comes in and you starting to rank at the top of the different search engines. All of this is created because of the content that's on your site. So they'll start to search for things like best window treatments for large windows, right? Shutters, what's the difference between shutters and blinds? Maybe they'll type something like that. Or maybe they'll just dive straight into the price thing and say, how much do these particular things cost? These are all different kinds of searches that people in this stage are going to type in. Now, content examples of things that we can create here include blog posts, educational videos, and downloadable guides. So these are things that help them educate themselves more about what the potential outcome could be for their project. A lot of different ways that you can create content that typically is what they are looking for at this particular stage. Now, when they move over to consideration, now they're starting to narrow down their options. And this is where things like visuals come into play, right? Photos, galleries, before and afters, pictures of different rooms and things that they could do. This is where they're in a comparison type of mindset. And they're looking at the different options here. So when they're looking at the different things on your website, on your different profiles, they're starting to look at product comparisons, project galleries, and design inspiration. So they've moved past the point of trying to research just overall what they're looking for. They've started to narrow down the focus on certain things. And this is the type of content that you need to create for these types of people. They're digging in a little bit at this point. And if you have these things on your website, they're going to stick around for a longer time. Next is the decision stage. Finally, we got them to the point where they're going to make a decision and hopefully set an appointment with us, right? So this is the trust building stage. This is where most buying decisions are made and where some really important things are needed. So for instance, we'll talk about this, but testimonials is a huge thing. This is a huge trust factor. Real projects that you've done. So if you have some before and after pictures or even project pages on your site, that would definitely help you. The customers at this stage really just need confidence that they're making the right choice in choosing your business. So content that works here, before and after projects. These are huge. These are really big, and Google loves these as well, right? So having the before and after of the different projects that you've done, the installs, and explaining what those are along the way, not just pictures. The testimonials, we talked about this, having those on your website where people can see that other people have done business with you and we're very happy about it. You can even do case studies if you've got some bigger projects. That here's what the customer wanted, here's the solution we came up with, and here's what it looks like when we did the install. This is also the place for frequently asked questions. So somebody in this stage has kind of made a decision to work with you, but if you can come to them with questions that maybe they weren't thinking of or things that maybe is rattling around in the back of their head, this is where that kind of solidifies your expertise by having those FAQs. Another thing I like to call here is SAQs, or should ask questions. It's always awesome to have a customer come to a website and not realize they should be asking this question about this product. So having those should ask questions in there can really help solidify the idea of turning them into somebody that converts. So conversion means they set the appointment, they pick up the phone and call you, whatever that is that they do. But this is where the appointments happen. So we need specific types of content, pages on your site that are going to help this conversion stage take place. Now, the easiest one here obviously is a set an appointment page or a consultation page. Make it easy for them. Make it simple for them to set the appointment. I talked to somebody this morning who was unsure about adding an appointment calendar to their website. And my biggest point was, if somebody goes to your website and they set an appointment, like they pick a time and a day and they set that appointment, that person is highly unlikely to hit the back button and go to a competitor and do the same thing, because they've mentally committed to your business at that point. Now, other people will say, I just want a form. I don't want somebody to be able to assign times to me on a calendar. First of all, the calendar piece is a recommended time that I want to have you come out. Now, if you're going to be across town and you can't get there in 30 minutes, that's okay, because you just call them when you confirm the appointment, say, Mrs. Jones, I can't be there at 3. Can we move it to 3:30? Not a huge deal, but you got that mental checkbox in their mind that they set that appointment. So that's huge. There's also showroom visits. If you have a physical showroom, you can set up those invitations to come visit the showroom. Those are fantastic. And of course, free measurement offers have some different offers out there to help people take that next step, whatever that happens to be. Now, the missing piece here is most companies stop at the awareness stage. They work so hard to get people to be aware of their business, but that's all they do, right? So they throw up a website. Everybody else has a website. We need a website too. Let's throw it up there. Let's get people aware of our business. But they don't educate, and therefore they don't convert people that come to them. So this is the huge piece that's missing a lot of times. A lot of companies create that awareness content, but forget the obvious next step, which is moving that person to booking the consultation. Every piece of content along the way has to have that clear next step, whatever it is in that different content funnel. Now, an example content funnel could be that it starts with a blog post. They stumble across the blog post when they're doing some research. Then they also see a Facebook post related to that. They get a newsletter from you that mentions that. They come visit your website. They set an appointment. So this is just one example. There are a lot of different ways that people could get into your world and get into that basically awareness phase of things. But what we need here is helpful content. It has to be helpful. It has to provide value. It has to answer whatever question they're trying to answer, right? It has to solve that problem for them, or at least offer a solution of some sort. At the same time, you need to have search visibility. So all of this effort doesn't work if you're not optimizing your content correctly for the search engines, and Google being the main one here. Optimize your content so that when somebody types in something related to that, yours is the one that comes up. You have to be found online. You have to have the right keywords in the right places, and then appear in the SERPs or the SEO results. And then lastly, as I've mentioned a couple times now, a clear CTA or call to action. Make sure they are guided to that next step, that it's easy to find, that it is obvious is the word I always like to use here, and obviously moves them over, ushers them towards setting that appointment. So now that you've started to create this content, you don't necessarily have to just continue to create more content, right? That's always a big piece. Oh my gosh, I'm busy running a business. Maybe I'm even taking phone calls and I'm on the ladder. I don't have time to create more content, or not a huge amount of new content. This is where you can start to leverage a lot of the content that you already have created. So one piece of content can do a lot more than just be a blog, right? It can be a blog post about plantation shutters, but that could actually turn into a lot of things. 5 different social media posts, maybe a Pinterest pin or 2 if you're using your own content, Facebook post, email newsletter, a video. There are a lot of things you can do with one piece of content. So instead of just thinking of a blog as a blog and that's it, I need to put that up this week. Think about how you can take that, leverage that content, and move it onto other platforms that people might also be doing searches for that same thing. So, the big piece of why this matters is this is how small teams can compete with bigger brands. It's very relevant for your audience. It gives you the option to take something that's already done, repurpose it on other places, and get more eyeballs on it without having to create new content. And that is the huge piece of this, is that you are multiplying the impact of stuff when you create it and after you have already created it. Now, when it comes to content, what does it support? Like, how does it help? It helps with a lot of different pieces in the digital marketing world. For instance, SEO traffic, which is awesome. Social discovery, so other people talking about it, mentioning it on their social channels, sharing content like that. Obviously, nurturing through your email list is huge. Make sure that people that are already subscribed to your list and aware of your brand, that you're continuing to nurture them at least monthly, and staying top of mind in their email inbox. Don't forget about AI search results. These are huge. These are starting to generate leads for our clients. So, starting to build helpful content that AI also thinks is helpful and interesting, and that serves your website up as the answer to whatever question they're researching. And then, of course, it creates sales conversations, which really is the ultimate goal here. The visibility creates trust. People trust what they see multiple times. If you've ever heard of social proof, this is another example of that. The more people that are doing something, they're more likely to do it as well. So connect to real buying behaviors by making sure that you're repeating these things in different places. Google obviously is the big one, right? Let's not forget about search results, or when you're searching for things near me. That's become a thing lately with the Google Maps system. Making sure that you are in the maps with the three pins with the maps. If you can be one of those three pins, you're going to get a lot of search results and a lot of traffic from that. Don't forget about just the SEO results, and a lot of people will skip the maps, they'll skip the ads, they'll go straight to the SEO results or the organic results. So make sure that you're ranking well in there so that that content is, again, helpful and well thought out. Uh, don't forget about social. Once you have all this created, starting to building a community and engage with people on the different social networks can really help move that needle forward. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, email nurturing and having a CRM system that takes all these people, keeps them in one place, and consistently reaches out to them. That familiarity is going to increase your overall conversions. So let's look at a real example here. It's going to be really cool to see how one piece of content turned into multiple things. So I'm not going to say a lot here. This originally started as a blog post, as you can see, and then we did a couple things with it. Could have done a lot more, but these are some things that we did with this one piece of content, and used it across multiple platforms here. So, just as an example, a great way to go about it. So instead of just randomly saying, I got to do some marketing this month, things are slow. Uh, Build a consistent pipeline. This is how you build a predictable pipeline. And the big thing here is it's predictable. Once it's up and running and you're doing it often, you're in the green, right? Which is great. So building this creates customers long term. So let's talk about 3 steps to get started here. I want to make sure that you have some action items to be able to move forward with some of this stuff. So first thing you need to do is answer common questions. What do people typically do? What are they typically typing in? What are they looking for? What does your product ultimately do for that person? Now, obviously, the answer here is if it's blackout shades, well, it makes the room dark, right? But what that product really does is helps them sleep well so that they can get a good night's rest or they can get up when they're ready for work, those kinds of things. It's think beyond just the physical attributes of that product, but start to think about what those different products are and what those searches are, and then turn that into content. If people are searching for this thing, or people are calling me and asking me the same thing all the time, I need to turn that into content because there's probably 10 times the amount of people online that are thinking the same thing, and nobody's answering that. So I should be able to answer that for them. I'll create that piece of content. So turn that into content and then get it out on the different platforms. Don't just put it in one place. Make sure that you've got this across multiple platforms and that you're not solely focused on just creating it on one type of system. Focus on helpful content. I think I probably mentioned that one or 10 times now. But the most successful content answers things like pricing questions. This is a big update from Google within the last couple months that if you're starting to talk about pricing, you're more likely to get more eyeballs on your brand. A lot of business owners are thinking, well, I don't want to get my pricing out there and my competitors are going to know. Well, your competitors already know what their pricing is. They probably go up against you and their pricing isn't that much different. So answering the question is going to get you more traffic, get you more eyeballs, get you more conversions. Don't worry about those other guys and what they're up to. So different searches, for instance, how much are plantation shutters per square foot? Right. And then you don't have to answer with a number. This is where a lot of people get hung up, but have something in there that says prices vary depending on the different options, right? And you can expect to pay between $100 and $150, whatever that is. You don't have to say a specific number, just a range at least starts to answer the question. Now, the most successful content also helps with product comparisons. This is where people that are researching, or especially in the early stages, maybe they're a little bit unsure about what they even want. And I've used this example before. My wife and I called somebody to get some Roman shades, but we ended up getting shutters because it was a better fit. And we just didn't realize the comparison piece of that. So having that in place is just fantastic. But understanding these different comparisons between products can really help people that are in those early stages. It can also help answer install concerns. So, is this something I can do myself? How long is it going to take? What is the delivery time from start to finish? Do I need to take off work a day to get this done? Those types of things. This particular example is more along the DIY approach, which people are searching for this. You might as well be the answer because there are a lot of times that I start a DIY project and realize I'm not the guy to do this. And I end up going and researching to find somebody to just come do it. Right. I'm sure I'm not the only one in that boat. So don't be so afraid of DIY related content because it can help you create more customers down the road. And then don't forget about design inspiration. A lot of people that are just looking for ideas and ways that they can solve this strange shaped window or a bay window or an arch or all these different things. Having those on your website and helping inspire them can turn into a customer and an appointment down the road. So having that content out there can really, really shape that future for you. So listen, consistency beats perfection here. You don't need viral content. You just need consistent, helpful content. You don't have to be everywhere. You just have to be consistent. This removes resistance from you getting more appointments. Consistent content turns into increased web traffic. It turns into more search rankings, higher search rankings, additional keywords that you're ranking for. Obviously, more inquiries, more people signing up, setting appointments, giving you phone calls, which is going to turn into more consultations or more appointments. This piece builds momentum, not instant results. That's the really big thing here. So, all right, let's review. I've gone through a lot of stuff. Random content doesn't generate consistent leads. So the whole idea, and I see this a lot, things are slow. Let's put some money towards marketing, right? It's not going to work. It may show a short little spike, but those that are consistent with it are going to win this every single time. Helpful search focused content builds trust, builds more visibility for your brand. Every piece of content definitely needs to guide that person to the next step. Again, I love the word obvious here. Obvious next step. If your website is shades of blue and gray, maybe an orange button or something that I don't mean some like neon crazy looking thing, something that works with the color scheme, but also draws their attention so that they know what you're trying to guide them to take as the next step. One piece of content, one idea can fuel multiple platforms and touch points. The average person, they say now, needs somewhere between 12 and 20 touch points before they decide to do business with somebody or they decide to engage with a business. So just simply just writing a blog post and hope that it ranks and hope that that turns into appointments, you're missing 90% of your opportunity there. And consistency turns content into booked appointments. So Google rewards the fact that you're being consistent and that you're constantly creating content, answering questions, and solving issues. So I'm going to jump over and see if there's any questions in the chat. If you have any questions, go ahead and toss those in there. I want to make sure that I get everybody's questions answered here. And then I want to jump into getting you some free stuff and making sure that you have the items to get going here. Make sure that you have the resources to take those next steps. So, all right, let me see public chat here. All right, I don't see any questions. If you're typing one, go ahead and put it in there. I'll make sure to catch that. But I don't see any at the moment, which is great. Maybe I just answered everything correctly for you. So, all right. So let's jump over to some free stuff. If you're still writing a question, go ahead and put it in there. I'll make sure to get back to it. So, my book, obviously, I've got my book here. If you want a copy of this, 10 quick wins for window treatment businesses. This is 10 chapters of things that you can do consistently with what we talked about today. 10 different things that you can take action on to move that needle for your business. wtmarketingpros.com/book is where you go. Give me your mailing address. I'll package those up and get them in the mail this week for you. So make sure to get a copy of the book. I definitely want to get that into your hands. And if you go through these different steps and look at the steps that you need to do, we even give you common practices, things that you should do. So we really set you up for success with this book. So grab that. Also, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, we've got, I think, 1,100 and something videos out there on our YouTube channel now. All helpful content, I hope, is all helpful content. Things that you can take and learn and move the needle again. Make sure to subscribe now. WT Marketing Pros is our name on YouTube, and we are just short of 1,000 subscribers already. So very excited about that. So go check that out as well. If you want a list of the top keywords for the industry to get your content going and moving in the right direction, you don't have to do a ton of research. Just grab it from me. wtmarketingpros.com/keywords is where you can go and download that file. That will get you moving in the right direction. Obviously, there's a QR code here if you just want to grab it that way. But make sure to get that free content also. And if you want to talk to me, if you want to learn more about how we help window treatment companies across the US generate more leads for their business, I'd love to have that conversation with you. Learn a little bit about what you're trying to do, where you're trying to go, what your revenue goals are for this year or next year, and see if there's a way that we can help you get to those goals. I'd be happy to do that with you. Shoot that QR code, or you can go to wtmarketingpros.com/strategy. That pulls up my calendar. You can pick a time that works for you, and we'll just have a chat about what you're trying to do. and see if there's a way that we can help you or we'll point you in the right direction. All right, that's it. Let me jump back and see if there are any questions in the chat. All right. I don't see any questions. Awesome. Well, listen, thank you so much for jumping on today. Appreciate your time. Make sure to follow us on the different social networks. We're posting content very consistently across a whole lot of different platforms and would love for you to obviously look at that content. And if you have questions or anything like that, reach out. Would love to help you out. I hope you have a fantastic week, and we will talk to you next month for our next workshop. Take care, everybody. Thanks.